Welcome to Let's Talk Thyroid, where we explore different aspects of living a healthy thyroid lifestyle, positively and practically, to help you thrive and not just survive. Join me, Annabelle Bateman, your host, and let's talk thyroid. Having a chronic illness can be lonely at times. So let's talk about how to build a thyroid health support team, even when you do feel all alone. Something that I have learned over time is that it is really important to have people around me that support me in my health journey. So even though I have full responsibility and have taken full responsibility for my own health, to investigate, to try different things, to experiment, to really be my own health experiment, I would have found it very difficult to do without people around me to support me in that process. Now, those people have changed over time depending on what's going on in my health at any given time. It can also have depended on just who I know, who I've been referred to, what information I've been gathering. And, you don't need to have lots of people in your corner. You just need a few key people. So let's explore 4 key people or categories of people that can really help you manage your long-term thyroid health. Number 1 is a medical practitioner. Now, if you've been diagnosed with a thyroid disorder, then it is important to have that monitored over time, and it is really important to find a doctor that you can work with in the long term to help both from a medical point of view and also who understands or at least is open to some of the lifestyle holistic changes that support your thyroid health as well, particularly if you've got an autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's or Graves', because it's often those lifestyle factors like diet, reducing stress, sleep, all those things that we talk about often here that help to address the underlying root cause of the autoimmune disease. So, number 1 is medical. Usually people find an integrative general practitioner or a holistic doctor to be the most helpful in that long-term medical support. That's not to say that you won't find an endocrinologist or a general GP that is helpful. They just seem to be harder to find in those categories. And so if you are having trouble finding a doctor, then I suggest you listen to last week's episode where I interview my doctor, because she talks about where to find a good holistic doctor and the sorts of things to look for. Number 2 are allied health practitioners. So these are people like a naturopath, a nutritionist, Chinese medicine doctor, herbalists, chiropractors, personal trainers, Pilates instructors, physiotherapists, those types of people that can come and go depending on what your individual needs are. And so certainly for me, I have found in the long run, I have got the most benefit out of having regular appointments with a naturopath. And that, again, that changes from time to time. I'm not regularly seeing a naturopath these days, but I have 2 wonderful naturopaths that have become friends, or were friends to start with, that I will happily see if I feel that need to do that. But I think I've done so much work with them over the years that I know the foods that will trigger me. I know how to reduce my stress. I know which essential oils to use. So I've gained so much help from regular appointments with them over the years. So that would probably be my number 1 allied health professional that has been helpful to me. But I've certainly used all those others that I've mentioned from time to time, depending on what's going on for me and my health. While we're talking about naturopaths, I'm going to throw in here as part of a support tool, I suppose, rather than a support person, is that it's in dealing with naturopaths and actually also my doctor, that I've realised the benefit of support of herbs and supplements and essential oils as part of that overall health support. And so whilst they're not people, it's people that's introduced me to them. And actually, I think now, because I'm pretty well supported, I've got great supplements, I use my essential oils on a regular basis, that has actually reduced my need for regular naturopathic appointments. And so I can just go to them now on an as-needs basis because I've got those tools readily available for me at home. So number 1 was medical practitioner. Number 2 is allied health professionals. Number 3 are experts. Now, when I think about it, experts have probably been one of the most helpful categories of people to educate myself about my thyroid, about my health, about diet, about sleep, about stress, about all of those lifestyle factors. Because the reality is, when I go and see my doctor, I have half an hour, which is actually a long time for an appointment with a health practitioner. But in half an hour, she can't educate me on everything that there is to know. I can't absorb all of that information. So I have found it incredibly helpful to do lots of reading, research, digging. I listen to podcasts, I read books, I follow people on social media, I go looking for answers when something arises. I suppose I have a real quest for knowledge, and I find that when I understand why I should be doing things, or why, if someone says cutting gluten out of my diet, for example, because I had been told that by my doctor, by my naturopaths for many years actually before I did it, because I don't think I fully understood why. But when I took the time to research, to read, and really understand what was going on in my body, and why from an autoimmune perspective and a gut health perspective gluten was a problem, it actually really gave me confidence to cut it out. And so I understand that not everybody has the same need for knowledge or has the time necessarily to do lots of reading and research. And that's partly why I wanted to start this podcast, because I love doing that. I'm not so into all the scientific reading of papers and understanding all of that, but I'm more than happy to share what I have learned from the things that I read. But if you want that added depth of knowledge, if you want to understand why you even have an autoimmune disease, what the thyroid really does in the body, then I encourage you to find some experts where you can glean from their knowledge to add to your own depth of understanding for helping you to manage your own health. You'll know that if you're in the Let's Talk Thyroid Facebook community that I'm often sharing articles I find or podcasts I've listened to that touch on issues that are going to help support our thyroid health and our overall bodies. So some of my favourite people to follow would be Dr. Isabella Wentz, the thyroid pharmacist, Mark Ryan, who has a Chinese medicine approach, Dr. David Perlmutter, who is a neurologist but talks a lot about gut health and brain health and that connection, Dr. Dartsis Karatsian, who is all over the research to do with thyroid health, and his is the course that I did recently that I've learnt so much from. So there are some examples. There's so many more, and I would love it if you would share with me if you've got other people that you think I should follow that have information that is relevant to us. That would be fantastic. Now, the final category of people that's going to really help you not feel alone in your thyroid journey is the personal touch. So number 1 was medical practitioners, 2 was allied health professionals, 3 is experts, and 4 is personal. So a core that is yourself, but beyond that, it is finding someone in your personal circle, maybe even if it's just one other person, where you can feel support in how you manage your health. Now, that could be a spouse, it could be a friend, it could be your mum or your sister, and often thyroid issues do run in families, so that someone even within your own family could end up being a really great support. Or if you don't have that, then take advantage of the many online thyroid communities, because there often is a wealth of knowledge and experience, and you're in with people, you're going through similar things and have had similar experiences. And so that can be a way that you can not feel quite so alone. I know from my point of view, I have an amazing family that is very supportive of all I do, and I have a husband who has been very supportive of my health journeys and the different dietary changes that we've made and introducing essential oils into our repertoire of tools in our health toolkit, those types of things. But the reality is he doesn't have an autoimmune disease. He doesn't have a thyroid disease. He hasn't had to do all of that digging and research and trial and error for himself. And so even though he's supportive, he doesn't understand in the same way that someone with Hashimoto's like I have might understand. So that's where finding a personal connection, someone that you really can perhaps walk the journey together, or at least have enough understanding to be supportive of you, can make a massive difference in just how you feel as you go about your day-to-day life. So there you have it, a nice, short and sweet 4 categories of people to build into your thyroid support team for yourself. Now, this might take time. It might take a long time to actually find people, professionals, experts that you resonate with, that understand you and help you understand your own health journey. But I encourage you to take that time. What I'm going to do is you'll find in the show notes a document, just a simple 1-page document that you can download that has these 4 categories of people that can help you form your own thyroid support team. And you might just want to jot down some names there, do some of your own research into different experts around, or if it's time to find a new doctor or find a naturopath or, find an allied health professional, then this is a good opportunity to print out the page and jot some names down so that you can start to form your support team. You might even realize that you've got more people in that support team than you realized that you did. And if you're looking for an online community and you're not yet part of the Let's Talk Thyroid Facebook group, then please pop on over, join the group. It's a really easy, positive place. That's my mission, is that it's positive and practical so that you can feel encouraged on a daily basis. I'll also pop some links in the show notes to the different experts that I follow, books that I've read that I've found really helpful, in case they're helpful for you too. Just know that even when it feels like you're all alone, that you're not alone. There's so many other people going through their own thyroid health challenges as well. And even if it takes you to put your hand up and say, I've got Hashimoto's, I've got Graves' disease, I've had my thyroid removed. As you talk with your own friends and family, you'll be surprised you'll find other people that have either been through a similar experience, going through that. Thyroid problems are very, very widespread. And the more you talk about your experiences, it might actually help other people become diagnosed as well and get the help and treatment they need so they can get their lives back and start feeling good again. So there's a lot of benefit in getting the support for yourself, but also being the support for other people. You'd be surprised if you've been on this journey for a while and taken the time to try different things and do some reading and research yourself, just how much help you could be to other people. Because we all learn from each other. We're all different. What works for me it's not a blanket protocol that's going to work for everybody. So the more we all talk about our experiences, what's worked, what hasn't, then the more that we can learn from each other. And that's why you'll find over time on this podcast that I talk to regular people with thyroid issues willing to share their story, and not just the experts and not just me, because I want us all to learn from each other as a community so that we can all be part of each other's support network. So think about not only building your own support team, but whose support team can you be part of? Don't forget to download the worksheet from the show notes and gather together your thyroid support team. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Let's Talk Thyroid. I would love it if you would subscribe to the podcast and share it with others that you know with thyroid problems. Let's get the message out there. If you'd like to connect with me further, the best place to do that is via my website, annabellebateman.com. From there, you'll be able to join my Facebook group, book a strategy session with me, download my freebie, and access any show notes for this episode. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
The information presented and discussed in this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease and should not be used as a substitute for proper advice from a qualified professional.